Good day, everyone. Welcome to the subject Print and Broadcast Media Production. This is the discussion of Module 2, Types of Print Media Communication Materials. My name is Dave Gaurino. I will be reporting about print media, news stories, and elements of news. To begin with, let's discuss what is print media. Print media is still important for a country's growth. Despite the rise of radio, TV, cable, and internet media, many people still rely on printed materials for information. Two main reasons keep print media relevant. First, it offers a permanent record, and second, it's more affordable to produce than other media. In places where broadcast media can't reach, print media often becomes the main source of information. In this module, we will learn how to understand and explain different types of print media, identify and differentiate between news stories, reports, abstracts, and leaflets. This module takes a closer look at different types of print media. Let's begin with our lesson. News stories. How do writers choose their topics? How do editors decide what gets published? And what is news? There's no simple answer because news is relative. What's news to one person might not be news to another. News in one place might not be news elsewhere. However, some experts have tried to define it. Dean Spencer from Syracuse University says news is a story about someone or something that catches a lot of people's interest and is easy to understand. So, news must be interesting. It needs to grab many people's attention. For example, if a man breaks his leg, it's not news unless he is famous, like a president. News should be interesting and easy to understand. Terrorism, for example, felt distant until the September 11, 2001 attacks on the World Trade Center made it real for Americans. It turned into headline news. While Americans focused on recovery and retaliation, the world watched the updates on the terrorism attack. In the Philippines, newspapers followed the events, showing how connected global news is. This shows how news spreads through print media. When reporters choose what to cover, they look for traits that make an issue or event newsworthy. These characteristics, called news values or news elements, help decide if a story will interest many people and if it should be published. Simply put, these elements make a story appealing and important as news. A news story may highlight one or more of these elements. Let me explain each of these elements. The first element of news is timeliness. Timeliness refers to how current or recent a news event is. People always want to know what's new. In fact, one of the main reasons people read the news is to stay updated on recent events. Some news stories must be reported quickly to remain timely, such as election results. Others, such as updates on AIDS treatment or follow-ups on natural disaster victims, can stay relevant by providing a fresh angle and new updates, even if the original event is old. The second element of news is prominence. Prominence refers to the importance of people in the news. Public figures such as politicians and celebrities are often featured because of their fame. Even minor events involving famous people become newsworthy. For example, a small incident in a famous person's life gains attention due to their prominence. The third element of news is proximity. Proximity is about how close an event is to the audience. This can be physical proximity or psychological proximity. The first is physical proximity. Physical proximity means how close an event is to you. People care more about nearby events because they can affect them directly. For example, local traffic issues or school events might interest the community. The second is psychological proximity. Psychological proximity is about how relatable an event feels, even if it's far away. If a story touches people emotionally or connects to their interests, it grabs attention. For example, a story about a mother losing a child to a disease appeals to everyone, no matter where they are. The fourth element of news is oddity or novelty. Odd stories catch people's attention. Unique or strange things stand out. For example, a bizarre report about a Filipina giving birth to a milkfish grabs attention because it's unexpected. Even with unusual events, the writer must tell the story tastefully. Sensationalizing can hurt the news quality. The fifth element of news is significance, impact, or consequence. People care about stories that impact their lives. This makes news like oil price hikes important. Though it may seem repetitive, an oil price increase affects everyone. It leads to higher transportation costs and increased prices for goods, making it an important news. The sixth element of news is conflict. Conflict grabs attention. Disagreements or clashes between people or groups always make the news. This is clear in stories about wars, political debates, elections, or court cases. For example, celebrity breakups are interesting because they involve conflict and drama. The seventh element of news is suspense. Suspense happens when we are unsure about what will happen next. This feeling keeps us interested. Sports events, elections, and court cases often have suspense, making them exciting. For example, during the Olympics, fans closely watch to see if their favorite athletes will win. The eighth element of news is human interest. Human interest stories are emotional. They touch hearts and make readers feel something. Stories about children, animals, or ordinary people doing extraordinary things appeal to many. For example, Siamese twins who choose to stay joined despite advice to separate safely. Such stories of sacrifice or tough choices engage readers emotionally. The ninth element of news is progress. Stories of progress capture our interest because they show improvement. When communities grow or infrastructure develops, it changes lives. For example, a new road construction is newsworthy it becomes even more important when it connects to communities, making travel, work, and transport easier. These developments inspire optimism and demonstrate progress. The tenth and the last element of news is humor. People love to laugh, and humor in news can be a nice break from everyday seriousness. Filipinos, especially, find humor even in tough situations. A funny news story can bring relief. For example, a man was so overweight that paramedics had to break part of his house to get him to the hospital. The situation was serious, but the humor in how it was handled made it lighter news. In conclusion, there are many elements that make a story newsworthy, and reporters can write stories that capture attention and keep the public informed. Knowing how to balance these elements helps make news not just informative but also engaging. This is the end of my report. Thank you for listening.